It's that time again. We were blessed in 2017 with a huge array of diverse, awesome films, and I'm excited to finally be able to talk about my favorites of the year. So let's start off by shouting out some honorable mentions. My first honorable mention is to It Comes at Night. Joel Edgerton is awesome in what I consider to be the best horror movie of the year. It's a deeply haunting, nerve-shredding micro-examination of grief and humanity, teaching us that perhaps the scariest monster of all is fear itself. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, although I wasn't a huge fan of the first movie, I adore the second go-around with the Guardians and all its colorful, crazy splendor. The action and visuals are imaginatively fun, and the jokes hit hard without getting into the way of the true emotional weight that the movie has. Lady Macbeth, an adaptation not of Shakespeare, but of a Russian play of the same name. It's like a noir period piece full of lust, revenge, and power plays. It's a twisted drama rife with gender warfare issues and deliberately crafted in a way that even Kubrick would be proud of. Personal Shopper, an affecting depiction of grieving and a digital take on the ghost story that examines the fringes of life, death, and wealth. And lastly, War for the Planet of the Apes, which cements this fusion of technological magic and solid thespian craft that is Caesar into an icon of cinema in this poignant Exodus tale that caps off beautifully what will be remembered as one of the best trilogies in movies. Also some quick shout outs to Get Out, Good Time, A Ghost Story, Hostiles, and Wonder Woman. So now that we got all those out of the way, let's get started. Here are my top 10 favorite movies of 2017. Starting off the top 10 is my favorite actor, Daniel Day-Lewis's final film, Phantom Thread. Only this isn't a showy bravado role like he's had before in Gangs of New York or There Will Be Blood. Rather, his portrayal here is tightly wound, hypnotic, playing a genius dress designer in a story that tackles the agony and euphoria of creation. And this is Paul Thomas Anderson's film even more so than Daniel Day-Lewis's, really showcasing his evolution as a filmmaker into really deliberate filmmaking, and yet another dissection of masculinity in his filmography. The romantic relationship at the core of this movie is such a brilliant subversion of conventional cinematic romances, but also just a study in pure, elegant functionality. Daniel Day-Lewis and Paul Thomas Anderson don't even need to show off here. Phantom Thread doesn't need epic, dizzying visuals. Instead, its pure ability to sumptuously present this narrative without overexerting itself is just a testament to the pure talent that put it together. One of the movies I've probably watched the most in the last couple years is The Room, often hailed as the worst movie ever made. It's way more entertaining than any other objectively bad movie because of how blatantly poor it is in every facet of execution, but also because of the pure passion of its creator. And when James Franco and his friends set out to make a movie about this little-known bad movie, I thought it would just be a string of jokes tailor-made for my own sense of humor, but little did I know that The Disaster Artist would be this charming, moving, hilarious, and brutally honest exhibition about chasing dreams. Seriously, this movie has no right to be as good as it is. It's hilarious, delightfully offbeat in all the right ways, capturing the zaniness of real-life alien Tommy Wiseau, but also surprisingly touching when it comes to the brotherhood between Tommy and Greg, as well as the very real impacts of failure. And as a guy who personally loves making movies out of pure passion, The Disaster Artist really hit me close to home. While recounting the events of this weird guy in his objectively bad movie, The Disaster Artist still encourages us all to really follow our dreams, and in 2017, that's something to appreciate. I'm as big an Alien fan as they come, which makes me super critical and reluctant to accept new additions to the Alien canon, and that's why Alien Covenant is super special to me. Blending together the body horror of Alien, the gung-ho action of the sequel Aliens, the bleakness of Alien 3, and the philosophical grandiosity of Prometheus, Alien Covenant offers so much more than I ever could have hoped for with a new Aliens movie. It's got interesting characters in this established sci-fi setting with action immaculately designed for suspense, scares, sly, sinister humor, as well as some of the best set pieces in sci-fi cinema. And yet it's also loaded with bleak, beautiful poetry about the cycle of creation and destruction. It's a meditation on these themes hiding inside a big-budget sci-fi epic, delivering this biblically scaled interstellar nightmare. At once a rousing blockbuster spectacle and an inventive expansion of the franchise's core themes, the modern Alien franchise has become a misanthropic fable about creativity, religion, and this Peter O'Toole impersonating killer robot. It's Frankenstein, it's the Bible, it's Paradise Lost with androids and aliens, and next to the perfection of the first two films, this beautiful nightmare is among the franchise's best, a haunting and welcome new entry into the alien mythos. The Killing of a Sacred Deer is a hard film to talk about because even describing the movie's tone feels like a spoiler. It's sort of this gradual segue from the theater of absurdity to cruelty, presenting this weird methodical revenge tale plagued with irony and paranoia. The world's sideways, filled with deadpan dread. It's part thriller, part psychological drama, part farce. A good chunk of it doesn't even make a ton of sense, but it's so precise in its efforts to do so that it's intoxicating to behold. If you're a fan of this director's previous film, The Lobster, then this one's for you because it plays entirely to his narrative playbook, obliquely letting us see what happens when all reason is thrown out the window and absurdly ferocious emotion is left in its place. I might be biased on this next one because it was the first press screening to which I ever attended as a film journalist, but after seeing it like 10 times, I know I'm not wrong when I say that John Wick Chapter 2 is among the best action films I've ever seen. This is how you do action right. More importantly, this is how you make an awesome sequel. More elaborate action sequences, dazzling settings, unique characters, a tremendous expansion of the mythology of this world with a great deal of self-awareness to boot. Chad Stahelski helms this movie with simultaneous grace and ferocity, composing these brutal battles against beautiful backdrops. It's so slick, stylish, and surprisingly highbrow with a huge dose of adrenaline and fun. It's like the love child of Nicholas Winding Refn and John Woo, an art house film filled with jujitsu and bullets. It's gorgeously shot, deliriously violent, crisply written, and endlessly rewatchable, offering an unexpected examination of John Wick himself. And it leaves him in both a narrative and existential predicament that I cannot wait to see wrap up in the next installment. Probably the most criminally overlooked movie of 2017, Raw is this classy French-Belgian horror movie with an unusual yet aggressive female perspective on monstrous taboos. Its unusual premise and gruesome execution might deter some initially, but really this movie demonstrates how the feminine touch behind the camera has such an effect and why it's taken cinema by storm this year. That added perspective on pure genre filmmaking is just so identifiable. First-time director Julia Ducournau channels Cronenberg's style of symbolic body horror and Lynch's hypnagogic surrealism and makes them her own in a cacophony of loud, densely packed imagery. Her aesthetics are multifaceted, psychologically shocking, emotionally cathartic, and offer this compelling allegorical commentary on indulgence, naivete, and really what it means to be a college freshman. By adding terror with a feminine backbone, Ducournau weaves this bloody tapestry that powerfully represents coming-of-age fears and emboldens the importance of women in film. The movie's already on Netflix, so definitely give it a watch. It is mesmerizing. Every year that a Nolan film comes out, I can usually expect it to top my list, which means that this year was exceptionally strong because Dunkirk is at number 4 for me, but with no small part because this is one of the greatest war films ever made, full stop. Pure anxiety at 24 frames per second, given gripping life by Christopher Nolan's mixture of classical direction and borderline experimental use of time. This is a movie that begs to be seen on the biggest screen available with the best sound system. And this movie doesn't really care much for character detail or contextual background. No, it's more concerned with plunging the viewer into this experience with moment-to-moment of unparalleled filmmaking prowess. Through its towering scale, superb staging, and inventive structure, Dunkirk melds the micro and the macro with a formal daring that's breathtaking. Along the way, underscoring this unrivaled power of experiencing a truly epic film on a big screen. And through Dunkirk, Christopher Nolan shows us the pure meaning of cinema. Instead of telling us what to think, he offers full immersion of being there. The Florida Project recognizes the wonder and brutality of daily life without ever stretching either to becoming overly sentimental or cruel. In this slice of the life of a precocious 7-year-old girl and her single mother living in a budget motel just outside Disney World, the flawed characters are evocative, simultaneously igniting pity and reverence as they navigate unfathomable hardships. And the grainy 35mm cinematography beautifully captures the working-class splendor of the Sunshine State in all its faded glory. But what ultimately makes this movie about poverty so intoxicating is its ability to still deliver the pure joy of childhood. It never exploits its poverty theme and instead brilliantly exploits that sense of discovery that comes with being a kid and lacking experience, and how that's kind of magical. Making a sequel to Blade Runner is kind of an odd concept to wrap one's head around, because it was this misunderstood neo-noir sci-fi that was ultimately a box office bomb. But its presentation was timeless, and it confronted audiences with an avalanche of ideas and questions, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. And Denis Villeneuve more than delivers in following it up with Blade Runner 2049. It captures the feel of the original in all the right ways, but also differentiates in all the right ways too. Whereas the first film was about the loss of humanity, the sequel is about trying to get it back. And Blade Runner 2049 has an elemental magic in that endeavor. It offers up a mesmerizing meditation on the self and empathy and reality and humanity and aspiring to be more. It's also just a marvel to behold the sheer scale of this film. It is monolithic. One of the most visually astounding films ever made. Every image in this film is gorgeous and dripping with color, life, and feeling. It's a miracle that a slow, nearly 3-hour contemplative genre film could muster the budget and talent to allow for this level of production. And I'll take it while I can get it, because Blade Runner 2049 is a movie that we will all be discussing for years to come. With 17 years of movies in the franchise to stand on the shoulders of, and an entire genre to examine, Logan triumphs as my favorite movie of the year, not only because it's an entertaining and gut-wrenching film experience, but also because of what it has to say about nostalgia and the superhero genre, acting as an interrogation of the contours of the superhero myth, and moreover as this reaffirmation of the importance of heroes and hope. And even without the superhero lens, Logan is an excellent, compelling, and emotional western with delectable world building, enthralling characters, and some of the coolest action you'll see all year. It's the best work that both Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart have done in the X-Men series, and maybe their entire careers. The haunting score, the dusty consumerist nightmare production design, the painterly cinematography, and the fearlessness to unleash all our bloody fantasies while allowing Logan's primal core to scream out create an exceedingly entertaining and thoughtful final film for one of cinema's most significant heroes, one of tragedy and hope that ends softly rather than with a bang. Really, with all that's led up to it, Logan is the most perfect culmination we could have ever dreamed of for this franchise. A cathartic goodbye to the Wolverine, a contemplation on where superheroes have failed and prevailed, and consequently how we should all continue to hope despite the imbalance. Like The Dark Knight before it, Logan is the next step, the next turning point for the superhero genre, and is without a doubt my favorite movie of the year. So there you have it. Those are my favorite movies of 2017. Of course, I didn't get to see every movie this year. I wish I could have seen The Shape of Water and Call Me By Your Name before making this list, but didn't get the chance to. And alas, the list has been made. It is set in stone. It cannot be changed. Amen. Just kidding, but of course, you can let me know what movies you love that I may have missed out from my list in the comments down below. Right below me, you can click on the video for my favorite films of 2016. Right next to that, you can click on my feature-length film, Guess Again. Please check that out. And right above that, you can check out the trailer for said film. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.